Hey, everybody, welcome. This is two EdTech guys take questions and share cool stuff. This is something that Richard and I do about once a month just to have a little fun with a little EdTech stuff, kind of in that space of, hey, can we answer a question that might have been vexing to you? Is there some tidbit that we can toss out there that might make you a better human being? Or just all of those kinds of things are part of the fun that we have doing this. And we are excited to be able to share this with you. So with that, thank you for joining us, whether you are joining us live or you are watching this as a recording and on the Nexista site or wherever. We are happy you are with us. Let us tell you a little bit about ourselves real quick. Richard, you start.
Okay, I'll start. I'm best known for freetechforteachers.com, which I started 15 years ago this month. And
hey, congratulations.
Thanks. It's a long time. I'm a sophomore in high school now. And, and 17,000 blog posts later, it keeps on going. Or I keep on going, I should say.
Well, you're doing well, my friend. My own little shindig, which is now 17 years into it, believe it or not, is Nexista for Learning. It's a library of videos by and for teachers and students everywhere, all kinds of little things in it that I'm real proud of. Videos about from kids telling how different kind of things work from their own creative takes, very short videos, videos about different communities around the world and service to others and helping those learning English and careers and much, much more. So what we do is we answer questions. So we're going to start right into it. Richard, if you would like to kind of pull up that first question, we can kind of see what we've got from folks.
I'm going to pull a question from the chat, actually, that just came in from Chuck, who said,
perfect.
I'll be moving to 8th grade social studies. I've taught 5th science and social studies for the past 10 years, had to move due to numbers. Advice for middle school social studies. First piece of advice that I ever got in any kind of methods course or anything to do with middle school came from an old assistant superintendent of mine who said, the thing you need to know about middle school is that in elementary school, they just want to please the teacher. In high school, they just want to please themselves. And in middle school, it changes every day. And when I coached at the middle school, so I never taught middle school, but I coached basketball and track at the middle school. I found that to be so true. Now, in terms of, does that help you with social studies? It helps you with the middle school kids, middle school age. In terms of social studies, one of my go-to things for 8th grade social studies or that age kind of social studies is number one, Docs Teach from the U.S. Archives, U.S. National Archives. Great resource. And really anything middle school-ish, Larry Perlazzo kind of has the market cornered on that area. So check out Larry's website, larryperlazzo.edublogs.org. He's really tuned into the middle school resources type of stuff. So check out Larry's stuff. But yeah, I would start with number one, know what you're getting into with 8th graders, and number two, check out the U.S. Archives Docs Teach website. Great resource. Even if you're not teaching U.S. history, it's still really good. And then check out Larry's resources as well. So.
Richard, I've got the link for Docs Teach. I'll toss that into the chat, but if you could find Larry Perlazzo's blog maybe and toss that in.
Yeah, I'll put that in the chat. Yeah, everyone should know Larry. He's been doing this as long as any of us. And I'll put it in there right now if I can type and spell at the same time.
Good luck on that. Good luck.
I know. It's one of those things, like it's like the world's worst spelling test in front of a live studio audience. So there you go. Got it. All right. Another question, though. Another question that we got. So this one came from Phil. All right. I really like this question. Phil and I went back a couple times on this. Is Phil here, by the way? Phil, are you here in the chat?
Not at the moment.
Nope, not right now. Okay. But anyway, Phil asked, what are the best educational uses of Chromebooks, which are no longer getting updates from Google? These laptops are not obsolete, so what are the best ways of repurposing them to benefit students' educational needs? I think it's a great question. And personal kind of rant. I hate the planned obsolescence of all things computers, especially Chromebooks, because Chromebooks, the Chromebooks that are sold to schools don't have any, really great hardware to begin with for the most part. So there's no reason for them to not support them. But that's beside the point.
Well, it may be that thing that actually moves Chromebooks from the golden device of a few years ago to that thing where people are passing them by, honestly.
Yeah, it very well could be. One of my first, my first reaction, my first response to Phil was to, first of all, use them in some kind of computer repair class. That might be the first thing to do, right? Look at them as a device that can be experimented on, safely, right, with supervision, so the kids can learn things like how to take the screen, how to take the screen out, how to take the glass out, how to replace keys, how to keyboard, like that sort of stuff. So it could be good for that. Then my second thought was using them as hubs in a lab for kids who are building Bluetooth connected devices, because a lot of people don't realize this, but you can use Bluetooth without it being connected to the internet. Right? You can make your own little peer network that way, and so you could use them that way. Phil came back to me after my email with his own suggestion of using them basically as a giant USB drive or a giant flash drive, where you just load up a bunch of videos locally so that kids have resources there that they don't have to go on the internet for. Just load them up through basically using it as a giant flash drive. But what do you think, Rushton?
Well, first of all, that I really like Phil's thought on the video you said. That's a really cool idea. So kudos to Phil on that front. I would add that if you're thinking about devices that don't do a lot of, let's just say, modern stuff because of the oomph required in a machine to be able to do it, I'm thinking like online video editing, things like that. If you've got a bunch of older machines, still, what is magical about a Chromebook? It's the whole collaboration thing that is Google Drive. And so, in thinking about having students do planning for projects, teaching them the very important and almost never learned skills of good slides and how to use them well, right? I mean, like, that's all stuff you can still do. And so I would say that, if you look at the set of things you're teaching, and you think, okay, how much oomph is required? The chances are pretty good that about 2/3 or more of those things are going to be just fine, even on an old Chromebook. And so, if you've only got so many devices and you want to make use of older Chromebooks, then remember that there are plenty of activities that'll work just fine on those. You don't need the the top of the line thing to do everything when it only is required 1/10 of the time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Let's do one more.
One more. This one came from Chris, who said, for email, he actually wrote this in response to my newsletter that went out on Sunday night. More about that at the end of this webinar. But he wrote in response, for emails, have you tried Zapier? It's sort of like if this, then that. I'm using it to send recurring emails. Previously, I was using a template to avoid typing it out each day, but now it's automated. I haven't used Zapier for that purpose. I've used Zapier for connecting. So Zapier, let's back up. Zapier, you'll find it at zapier.com. We'll put it in the chat. It's actually a really cool tool. I haven't used it for the email purpose. I've used it for connecting services that are not natively connected or not natively integrated. For example, I've used it with Zoom in the past so that I could automatically send my Zoom registration list to a spreadsheet in Google Sheets. You do things like that. I've used it for GoToWebinar so that when I have my GoToWebinar it's automatically sent to a Google Sheet so I can keep track of who's registered and keep it in a Google Sheet. Zapier will connect hundreds of tools that don't otherwise have kind of a native integration, and Chris is using it for email, which is great as well, because you can schedule things to go on their own schedule. So check it out. If you have any issue or any kind of thing that you're sending over and over again, Zapier might be a great option.
So I'll add that my Rotary Club, the Rotary E-Club of Silicon Valley, uses that as a part of its site. So our Rotary Club is both online and asynchronous. So, the idea is that crazy busy people like educators who are just not going to be able to make it to, hey, come to this particular place or this particular site at this particular time every week, like that's a non-starter, then okay, let's set it up so people can have a community of really interesting people from around the world who want to make the world a better place, and see if we can get our different pieces in place to make such a system work. And we use that for several of the forms on the site, some of the good kind of extras that they offer. I believe we pay for that, truth be told. But if you are, as a bit of a tangent, if you are looking for service possibilities, take a look at siliconvalleyrotary.com or rotary.cool. We'll take you there.
Cool. That is cool. Rotary.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, cool as a top level domain. I love that.
And that was one of those things, by the way. And there's just one more general tip for our audience. It was several years ago that I ran across something that suggested there was a link to a something.cool, and I thought, no way, that is not a top level domain. I look it up, it is, and immediately was like, well, does anybody have a rotary.cool? And so we grabbed that and pointed it to our site as well, which is to say that if you are if your school is the Washington Tigers or whatever, then the chances are really, really good that WashingtonTigers.cool is available. Just saying.
Well, not after this webinar, because people are going to rush out and grab that.
So awesome. All right, now I would say, ooh, that is going to get fixed.
Hit the refresh.
I totally did. I'm going to pull our captions back on as well, because captions without punctuation is a certain kind of excitement.
Yeah. So this is a cool tool. Geography Awareness Week is coming up in 2 weeks. So this is why I included it. This is a tool called GeoGeek AR. And what it is, it's basically a map identification game or map guessing game that uses augmented reality so that you can put a globe into your living room or your kitchen or wherever you happen to be, and you can spin the globe with your hand by just tapping and spinning it, or you can actually walk around it. So that was kind of cool. And I actually did it with my 6-year-old, and she kind of got it, and it was kind of cool to have her take the iPad and walk around the world a little bit, and point out a couple places on it. So check that out. It's geogeek.ar. It's fun. It's just a fun way to practice identifying cities and countries around the world.
I love that.
Yeah.
Then again, you and I have talked before about the fact that we're both like map and geography and history folks, right? So that thing of all right, yeah. I mean, no, this country right here. Yeah. Too much fun.
Yeah, it's really fun. You can pinch zoom and do all that kind of stuff too, but it's really the more fun part is just walking around the globe.
Yeah,
literally walking around the globe. So.
Yeah. No, that's great fun. And by the way, anybody who's watching this recording, if you can identify the different stands, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, stuff like that, you get props from me. Absolutely. All right.
Bonus points if you live in one of those countries and you're watching this webinar.
All right. So matter of fact, we have someone that signed up for this. Hopefully we'll watch it. Whose last name is Erdogan, same name as the president of Turkey. And so if you are a member of the president's family, let us know. That'd be kind of interesting right there. My share is 55 fiction. Now this is almost certainly not limited to the San Luis Obispo, California New Times Sun, right? But they have this like local paper, and once a year they do this contest called 55 Fiction. And you might be looking at the screen saying, "But we're past the deadline." Well, but the link down here will actually take you to the highlights of the contest. Now, let me emphasize. There are some teens that wrote some pretty dark stuff in this, right? But it's still good. It is still, like a lot of good stuff. So just check out the entire page before you have students take a look and just see if it's okay for your crowd. But man, some really cool, very, very short stories have been shared in that space. Speaking of short stories, we like to tell them as we answer your questions, and that gets us back to questions. So Richard, if you would, keep it going.
Yeah, well, speaking of stories, StoryCorps has the Great Thanksgiving Listen coming up.
Love it.
And every year, StoryCorps encourages classrooms to record stories with older family members and submit them to the StoryCorps archive. So check that out. The Great Thanksgiving Listen. They always have some great stuff for educators. So check that out. Not a planned part of today's show, just a segue.
Yeah, right, but the link is in our links page, so all good.
All right. So this question came from Linda, and she needs some help. We have Outlook at our school to check our email. I also have the Outlook app at home on my desktop and laptop. My school has changed the policy that if we have the Outlook app, we can no longer check our email outside of school unless we use the push or digit code. This means I will always need my phone with me because it's linked. Do you know any way around this? I just want to check my emails the easy way. I don't. Why is it so complicated? Well, Linda, unfortunately, there isn't a way around that. Your domain administrator, your email, your IT person who oversees all of your email has enforced two-factor authentication. And probably has done so because I would guess, in my experience, that somewhere in the past, someone's email account was compromised on their personal device because they were, using some website or some app or something that they fell for. And that's all. That's always, not say usually, that's always been my experience when a district suddenly enforces two-factor authentication. Somebody somewhere had their account compromised because they did something silly.
Bless their hearts. Yeah.
But right. Yeah. I'm in New Englander. We don't say bless your heart, but yeah, I get it. I've been in the South enough. Yeah. So that's why. And unfortunately, no, you can't bypass that. Not in any way that's not going to further compromise your account.
But it's perfectly fine to ask the question. I guess that would be.
Oh, Dave just threw that in there. Multi-factor authentication is driven by school insurance carriers. Yes, you just reminded me of that, Dave. The last school that I worked in, that actually did come from the insurance company.
Hey, speaking of Dave, by the way, I know one of the reasons I know Dave is because of the McCall conference, the Michigan Association of Cool is what that is. And for those of you who are in the Midwest who are like, I'd love to go to a really, really good EdTech conference, just stuck the link to mccall.org. And it is a great conference. Goes back and forth between Detroit and Grand Rapids, different years, and wildly cool stuff. Dave, you're a rock star. Good to have you here, man.
Yeah, if you go to the one in Detroit, check out the Ford huge display right across from the convention center.
That's right. Excellent. Detroit's a fascinating city, truth be told.
It sure is. Yeah. All right, where were we?
So let's do one more question.
One quick question. This one came from Allie. Again, replying to one of my newsletters. You mentioned that you use Google Keep for bookmarking and note-taking, but you use OneNote Web Clipper when you want to save a clean, clutter-free copy of an article. How do you stay organized if some things are in Keep while others are in OneNote? Is there some bridge between the two, or do you separate them according to the types of things you are bookmarking and saving? Well, you could use something like Zapier, but I just use my brain because I've been doing this for so long. It's just a habit, just in my mind. I'm like, okay, if I have a PDF that I want to keep a clean copy of, or I found a web page, that's cluttered with ads, and I want to keep a clean copy of the article, I use OneNote for that. Everything else I use Google Keep for. I've just been doing it for so long that way that my brain goes that way. But you could connect them with like if this and that or Zapier. You could connect them that way. But yeah, and what Allie's talking about is the OneNote web clipper. If you don't know what it is, you can use this in your web browser for Edge or for Chrome. I use it in Chrome. It will say there's an option to save the web page with just the text of the web page, and not save all the clutter stuff on the, all the sidebar comments or any of the little social media icons that might be on a page. Strips all that out and it just saves the article. I use it mostly, the biggest use case, recipe websites. Recipe websites, cooking websites are the worst offenders of pop-up ads in the entire universe. And so I use it a lot for finding recipes, or when I'm finding recipes, but I will also use it if I'm saving anything else that's cluttered with noise. So.
I'll add, by the way, that some of you who watch this regularly know that I co-teach a class called Creative Solutions for the Global Good. We're trying to get our students to kind of think in a very different way about their learning. There are no tests, no papers, one big project, right? And one of the things that we ask them to do is to create a doc that is just where they keep all sorts of random notes related to the class and their project. It's actually quite a bit of work to get them to do that, without do this now, great, blah, blah, so but that's not the point in the class, right? We want them to learn to do things just because they should do those things. And so when you're thinking about getting students to think about being organized, I'm actually quite the fan of rather than using a specific tool that kind of gathers everything and God knows, perhaps info on you or whatever else like that, just get them into a space where it's like, you are sharing a doc with me or us in the case of the class I co-teach, and get the stuff, organize it yourself there, where the goal in part is just to get them to think about how they organize things. And so just as a bit of a tangent on the OneNote situation there and the Google Keep situation, hope that would be useful. Now, speaking of useful, I put out every week a new NVIV, Next Vista Inspiring Video. And what it is some wildly cool video that's out there somewhere, along with several thoughts and prompting questions for discussion or writing. And the one this week is about Matt Maxey, who is a rapper, but who is also deaf. And that video, that story about what he does to connect with the hearing impaired audience, about how they share poetry and music is really quite a beautiful story. So I hope that that's something you enjoy, and that you find that the NVIV link is also something that you get a lot of mileage out of. All right, so how do you find out about when we do these things? Well, Richard and I both put out newsletters. There is a link to my newsletter that you are welcome to follow. I'll stick that in the chat here in moments, but feel free to just follow what we do. My newsletter comes out once a month, and the next one is coming out in the next week or so. Richard, you're every week, I believe, right?
Sunday evening.
There you
Sunday
go.
evening or Monday morning, depending on your time zone.
Okay. Written some books. Contact me if you're interested in anything about those. And this is a really useful little shindig book kind of thing as well. Why don't you tell us about that?
Sign up for my newsletter. I'll send you a copy of the Practical EdTech Handbook, 50 some pages of my favorite EdTech tools, basically.
That is awesome. And this too is fairly awesome.
And that is more geared towards IT coaches or tech coaches who are looking for some ideas for some workshops to do on, a short Tuesday afternoon session, or, At the last minute, your principal says, hey, we need some PD tomorrow. I got you covered.
So awesome. You've got us covered this way as well.
Oh yeah, my YouTube channel. I make a lot of screencasts. I put them on my YouTube channel. Today I made one about how to make a multimedia map.
Nice. All right. Well, guys, you have just spent 25 minutes or so with Richard and with me, and I hope that there was a smile along the way, a useful thought, a cool thing that made you go, yeah, no, got to give that a look. Check the chat for all of these things. And if you registered, then you will get an email from me with the link to the slides and to the links that we mentioned and all of those things. And if you ever have any questions, just reply and say, hey, Rushton, about that, whatever. And we are very happy to hear from you. With that, we will finish up, but we thank you for joining us, and we will see you next month.